Welcome and welcome back, everybody. T here, and in today's video, we'll be doing a solo playthrough of Tides from designer Mike Berg. During the course of the playthrough, I'll give a tutorial about how to play the game, and be sure you stick around for the end of the video where I share my thoughts about the game in general. Huge shout out to buttonshy for being nice enough to send me a copy to do a solo party video on. But without further ado, let's get started. So here we have the game of Tides set up and ready to play. Over the course of the game, we'll be collecting various seaside items during low tide, and getting high tide cards, which will help us score them in order to get points. Whoever reaches 50 points first will trigger the last tide sequence of the game, and whoever has the most points will win. So for setup, we are going to start by dealing out our seashore during low tide with 5 cards. Then you're going to take 2 high tide cards, keeping 1 for scoring and discarding the other. The AI will actually be using a separate solo scoring provided on the back of the reference card, where they will score the most valuable sets and as many sets as they can with the cards they've been provided. The only other thing you need to get started is something to write with and keep track of score. And then we're ready to start. During low tide, you'll be able to take 2 actions, and during high tide, you'll be able to take 1 action. The 3 actions you have available to you are taking a card into your hand. You have a hand limit of 6, but you can discard cards at any time if you would ever be exceeding that. You can also score a set, and based on the amount of resources you turn in, and whether it's high tide or low tide, you'll get the points shown on your high tide cards. Or you can simply pass. And that's all we need to know to get started. So for our first turn here, we are going to be creating a driftwood sculpture. And for that, we're going to need a lot of driftwood, these little X's. However, if you look at our solo scoring, the shark's teeth are the most valuable resource, and our AI player will actually be taking cards from left to right. So I think we're going to snatch this mosaic before they can take it for themselves. And then we're going to let them take their leftmost card like so. Now we can go ahead and take those earrings. However, that does let them get these little pieces of sea glass, I suppose, or rocks, whatever they are. But I think we're going to take these anyway, and let them take the wind chime. So moving into high tide, we're going to flip over any remaining cards, sliding them down to the right, and redeal out a row of 5 cards, but this time with the high tide card side up. So we could take this terrarium, which would let us score our shark's tooth that we just got during low tide. And as you can see, if you turn things in during high tide where you only have 1 action, they tend to be a little more valuable. We can also take this glass jar, but I think we want the terrarium. And the solo player is going to discard the leftmost card and score as many sets as they can, trying to get the most points. So looking at what we have here, they have 6 of these purple sea glasses, which is not enough to get them 7 points. We do have 1 of these sand dollars for 4 points and 2 of these fans for 5 points. So they'll discard the fans first for 5 points, and then the sand dollar for 4 points. And you'll notice that I had to discard those in order because they can't score them together, or like use 1 card for 2 different sets of scoring. So they are at a hearty 9 points and we are at 0. Ooh, not a great start. We're gonna flip these over back to their low tide side because again, we only got 1 action during high tide. And ooh, we can take some more shark's teeth, or a shark tooth, singular. They'll take this shell art. We can then score our 2 shark teeth for this terrarium, which I think we'll do because we're at 5 out of 6 for our hand limit. So we are at 13 points now, which is great, pulling into the lead, and they will take their final card before we switch over to high tide again. One thing you'll notice about this game is it moves pretty quickly, both in the solo and in a 2-player game, which is really nice. Do we want to take a new scoring objective? Yes or no? We don't have that much more driftwood coming up, so I think there's nothing we can score this for 6 points, or we can take a new objective. These objectives don't look particularly helpful, except this will flip to a shark tooth, so if we take this, we'll be able to take this card next time and score it, which might be the better option because we can always score this for 2 points less if we run into a corner there. They're going to turn this in, They do have 3 jade, which is 4 points. They also have 4 of the sea glass, which is 4 points. Either way, they're turning in both cards for 4 points. So we'll go ahead and do that, which brings them to 13 points, and we are all tied up for now. All right, so flipping these over, we're gonna slide that down to the right here. And since our draw pile has run out, we're gonna just simply shuffle our discard, as you might have guessed, and set that out there. Okay. So our plan was to take the shark tooth so we can score the necklace, which I think is still a great plan. You're going to take this shell arc, which does have quite a bit of jade. And then our options now are to score a set for less points or to take more resources. The fans are pretty valuable, especially since the solo player can score them for 5 points only with just the 1 card. So I think we'll go ahead and take this. It also helps us, let's see, we have 7 of these X's, which isn't quite enough to do anything with, but at least we'll prevent them. Oh, hold on. But if we take that, then they'll take the jade and get 8 points. But 8 points is better than 9 points. So yeah, I guess we'll take that. And they'll take the wrapped stone. Switching over to high tide here. This is a really nice welcome warm weather beach sea breezy without dealing with actual sand. I don't know about y'all, but can't stand it. So this is about as close to the beach as I'm gonna be getting this summer. Not even summer yet. We are going to go ahead and score one of these sets. I think we want to score our necklace because we can only score a single shark tooth for that anyway, and that gives us 10 points. So that will be lovely, which brings us to 23. And the solo player is going to score a set of 4 jade, which will get them 8 points. And that brings them to 21. So we've maintained our lead by 2 whole points. How exciting. Oh, and they're going to discard this card. Okay. Now we have some options. We do have some X's. There's another shark tooth out there. Let's see. Do we want to go for that? Is it worth it? Right now we have 5. We could get a maximum of 6, which gets us a few more points, but nothing spectacular. We may just want to prep for what cards we may need next. The nice thing about the low tide side is that, and well, both sides really, is that they show you a preview of what's on the other side. So this one will score those little pink seashells and the driftwood, which we do have some of those. If we can get more pink seashells, that might be the best route to go. Or if we want to take these away from, yeah, let's do that. We're just going to hoard some cards here and we'll take that shark tooth because we cannot let the AI player have that. That would be too good. Okay. And then we'll go into our low tide or high tide here. Okay. We could take this to score a shark tooth in low tide again. This one, we would need 3 fans and an X, which we could do that with 2 cards. We could do 5 fans and an X if we got another fan. I think we're going to take the terrarium again. Seems to be our best bet. And they are going to score 7 purple for 7 points. Oof. Okay. So they're at 28, which brings them to a 5-point lead. Not ideal, but maybe we can pull it together. We do have a lot of cards that we can score now. So hopefully we'll be able to get some points here. We're definitely going to get at least 7 during low tide. That card's really nifty because usually low tide is worse. In this case, it's a little better, but you have to have the better resource. So we're going to start by turning this in because we don't have room to take cards and I don't want to discard. That seems very wasteful. There's 7 points. They are going to take their card here. Now we have to figure out what we want to do with our lives. So if we take this card, we would have 6 on 2 cards and we would have a bunch of fans that we could potentially score. I think we want to do that. So we'll take the glass jar and our solo player is going to take the necklace. These will flip over and we'll get a couple more cards for high tide. And we're past the halfway mark because again, the endgame trigger is for 50 points. And we're at 38 and the AI player is at 28. So we're going to proceed with scoring this driftwood skull. Whoa, hold on. We need this card with the fans on it. They look like fans, sorry. They're actually pink seashells, I think. They're just buried in the sand. It's hard to tell. So that brings us to our 6-card limit. This will get discarded, and they are going to score, they can score 2 fans for 5, or 2 jade for 4, or 4 purple sea glass for 4. So they're actually going to use both cards and score the fans for 5, which is great because it gets rid of a lot of their resources. Totally planned that. Brings them to 33, back to the lead, but not for long. Okay. We're going to flip these puppies over and take our turn. Oh my gosh, but they're going to get a shark tooth. So we're in trouble. Okay. I'm going to turn these in. It's both 10 to 7. So I'll turn these in. Actually, can we get 3 more X's? Yes. No. We can get 1 more fan though. So yeah, we want to turn in the driftwood sculpture for only 7 points, unfortunately, instead of 10 during high tide. But that does bring us back to the lead, except they're taking this shark tooth, which is not great. And then what we want to do is take this tiny cottage so that we have 5 fans. They're going to take the glass jar, and some crazy scoring is about to ensue on both parts. Oh man. I think it'll be enough for us to maintain a lead though. So we'll see how that works out. Okay. We are going to score our 5 fans for 14 points, but that clears out our little inventory here. And that brings us to 37, 47, 51. So this will be the final scoring. Okay, and they are going to score the shark tooth for 10 points and this little guy here for 4 points. Oh no. Wait, yeah. Okay, good. So that is 14 points plus 33 is 47. So we have just barely eked out a win with 51 points versus our solo player who received 47. So there you have it. That is a solo playthrough of Tides from Mike Berg. Overall, when I first heard about this game, it wasn't one that I rushed to pick up. There are certain titles when as soon as they come out, I'm like, yeah, I need that good. This one looked really beautiful, but I wasn't sure if the gameplay would really be sustainable, both for the 2-player and solo version. A friend of mine actually picked this up, and we got to play it at 2 players, and I was shocked at how much I really enjoyed it. Not because I didn't think it would be good. I thought it would be an okay game, but upon playing it, I was just like, wow, there is a lot packed into these 18 cards. And even though the theme is very beautiful and very unassuming, the gameplay is very thinky for a small, concise set collection game. The solo play is adequately challenging, as you saw in the video. Every time I play this solo, I really have to stay on my toes and stay one step ahead of the AI. It has that really interesting drafting mechanic where you know what the AI will take since it's programmed and you know how they can score. The fact that the AI can score every round and can score as many sets as they have adds another level. In a 2-player game, you can't always anticipate what your opponent will do, but with the solo game, you can. So having that extra challenge of they score all their sets really kind of balances that out in the solo game. And as far as downsides go, I think the only thing I could think of, which this hasn't been a problem for me yet, if you have a particularly keen memory and play this game a lot, you might start to know which cards are exactly what on both sides. I mean, it does tell you what the scoring is on any particular card, what types of, and vice versa, what resources you can get. So I don't think that that would be that big of an issue. Maybe if you knew all of the exact information, if you have a smart math brain, you could figure it out, and maybe after many, many plays, it might get a little bit, it might get like you might be able to crack a way to just get the most points. But I think with how the cards come out, with how low and high tide shift, how players take different cards each game, it's going to be very variable. Like there's not one surefire way to victory each time. Overall, I think that if you, like me, really appreciate this theme and this artwork, it's so novel and has a little bit of nostalgia. I mean, y'all know I hate beaches, but I do love collecting seashells. So this was just a really great package overall, mechanically sound, beautiful presentation, and just a really fun time solo or with two. And that's all the time we have for today. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe. The important thing is clicking the bell to be notified every time a new video comes out. I think especially with some of these smaller, lesser known games, the algorithm doesn't like to push them out quite as much. So if you want to be sure to be notified each time I upload a solo party video, be sure to click the bell so you can get notified directly. Thank you so much as always for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.